Welcome to the Tech Panel.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The podcast where tech minds meet.
Oh, hey, before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
Hey there. Welcome to the Tech Panel. I'm Arvin.
And I'm Jamie.
We sit down with tech-savvy entrepreneurs and experts having candid conversations about the often elusive workings behind modern tech.
Today, we're diving into the startup jungle with a guest who's writing her own playbook on deal making. Meet Emily Price, ex-lawyer, AI rock star, and co-founder of Tallystone, the game-changing, turning due diligence nightmares into deal-ready dynamite.
We're digging into how she tames startup chaos and unlocks funding superpowers, plus the jaw-dropping moment that rewrote her Tallystone journey. This is the Tech Panel. Before we dive in, why don't you take a moment to tell us a bit about yourself, Emily, your background in law, and what led you to co-found Tallystone?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, my background is in law. I actually practiced as what we like to call ourselves startup lawyer, though it's not really a particular area of law. The idea was that the clients that I was working with were startups and tech businesses, and that they have a pretty unique set of requirements when it comes to a lawyer that can help them out. So that was my background. I did that for a number of years. Before that, I did work in startups as well during university. So I kind of got that startup bug then. And as I was working as a startup lawyer, what I found was that my clients were really struggling with the kind of administration side of managing a company. So when it came to documentation, the company corporate governance side of things, and I thought, hang on, there's got to be a technological solution to all of this. This is really easily solved by tech. And I kind of went and looked out, couldn't find anything. So I decided, okay, let's see if we can actually build a technology. And I met my two co-founders, and turns out they were kind of on the same track. And together we formed Tallystone from the back of the kind of problems that we'd all seen with working a startup.
Love it. Classic needs-based co-founding. And
yeah, exactly.
This is interesting to me. I have never heard that there's a special type of law for startups.
Either had I. I didn't know it was a thing.
For anyone who's probably starting here, why don't you tell us what are some of the likely challenges that they may experience and how you solve for them?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing though. There's no particular type of law. Like it's a mixture of all the same types of law that any business are going to be struggling with. The uniqueness, I guess, for startups is part of it is the capital raising journey. Like that is a very unique part of having to go out and raise money through equity, once a year, once every 2 years. That's very unique to startups. And also the rapid scale as well. So a business, if you go from small to medium-sized business, you kind of can chew your way to exceed, new levels of law as you go along. The difference with a startup is they're kind of going through all those stages really quickly. And so they have to very, very rapidly learn new areas of law and realize that, the way that they were kind of working maybe 6 months ago, all of a sudden actually doesn't work for them anymore because they're at another level of business.
How many startups do you find can actually not only recognize that in 6 months in they might have to pivot a bit, but are then willing to pivot? Or do you find a lot of them stick to their guns and they're like, no, this is how we envision it and this is how we want to go? And then how do you, I guess, help encourage them to make that pivot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is both a struggle for a lot of them.
Yeah.
They're used to it in terms of like the business, where everyone gets told in startup world, you're going to need to pivot from a business sense.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that with that comes all of these other elements. So it's not just law, it's also financials.
Exactly.
The financial complexity also needs to scale, HR, operations, all of these areas need to follow this business as it grows quite rapidly. So I think people, founders particularly, can sometimes forget that, it's not just about the business. There are all these other elements that need to follow along with it. I think there are exceptional founders who do know that that's going to be a part of that, and they're the ones that are preparing, so they know that that's going to come ahead, and they go with, okay, this is a stopgap measure, whatever it is, that's going to work for now, and I know that in 6 months to a year's time, I'm going to have to change things up, and they're ready for that when it comes.
And most people building a company started off the back of, like you said, finding a problem and thinking, I bet I can build something
Yep.
here. Was there any in particular catalyst that motivated you to actually make that leap? I'm sure all of us see problems every day in our lives and businesses, but don't think to ourselves, I'm going to build something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What was that experience for you like?
Yeah, I've had this question asked before. I don't know if there was necessarily a single moment where there was some sort of catastrophic thing that happened. It was more noticing all of these problems that were arising, and after a while going, hey, there are enough people experiencing the same problems that I think that we need a solution for it. So it wasn't a one-off instance, because I think if it had been, probably starting a business just because you see one problem that appears is probably the wrong way to go about it. But yeah, I was seeing founders struggle so much. And I mean, the core of our product is an automatic data room, which is to do with documentation and information. And it was that bit that I found founders really struggled with, was gathering the right information at the right time and looking at it of, I'm going to bite off a little bit of it at a time, not right before a capital raise, all of a sudden having to go, oh, we have nothing ready. Okay, let's just spend hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars on trying to fix this. And it was seeing so many founders fall into that trap of capital raise. Okay, we need to get everything in order. And sometimes not being able to meet the deadlines because of that. So whether it's then leading to failing the capital raise or having to delay it because they didn't have their back office in order.
So is it primarily seed funding that you focus on for companies?
So our initial focus is anywhere from pre-seed up to Series A. The problem that we found is actually experienced by absolutely everyone. You've talked to Series D founders who say that, yeah, we still have this problem, even though we've been experiencing it this whole time, and they have a need as well. But we're kind of targeting the earlier stage to begin with, and then moving from there. But yeah, for seed, it's normally they've gone through a capital raise before, and it's this next stage of seed. So the pre-seed to seed, they go, oh, I'm just going to rinse and repeat the pre-seed process, not understanding that, no, there's a bit of a jump for this next stage, and you really need to level up to be prepared for things like due diligence and also questions from your investors. They're just going to get more and more complex as you go along.
If I had to guess, I'd probably say it's safe to assume that many of our listeners have no idea what the difference between pre-seed, seed, Series D or C is. Would you mind going through a bit of an overview of what those terms mean for everyday people?
Yeah, sure. So what we call the pre-seed seed, they're what we call funding rounds. So in a capital raise, you categorize them based on the type of round that it is. And so the idea is that they go in stages. So pre-seed is the earliest stage of raising, then seed is the next stage, and then it goes Series A and kind of up the alphabet. What really differentiates each of these stages are, one, how much you're raising, and also where along the journey you are. So a lot of the time, if you say you're raising pre-seed, you're at a stage where you might be have a product, but you might have not started selling it, or you might not even have a product. You're at the idea stage. The definitions are very, very fluid, and they're kind of constantly evolving. And they're also very different in Australia compared to the States as well. So when you talk about how much is being raised at each of these stages, it also changes. In Australia, a Series A might be a few million. In the US, it can be 20 million. So we're talking about a really big, wide range of what the amount that's being raised at that stage can look like.
You're not trying to sneak in the fact that America just went off on their own tangent and made up their own phrases again, did they?
Yeah, well, I would say that it's more the other way around.
Good,
America.
there we go. Pioneer in the way, America. Freedom.
Say that, yeah, I will give it to you guys. They did set the scene for a lot of the lingo when it comes to the startup world.
So I guess you've touched very briefly on in regards to due diligence. Before I get into that question though, we've been going through your website and all the information and stuff on you, and you at Tallystone advertising for people to be deal ready. Can you explain to us and to our listeners what you mean by that?
So the product of Tallystone we call an automatic data room. So a data room is the repository of all of the information when you are going to capital raise that you give to a potential investor to prove the value of your company. So, you go out saying, oh, we're this big new business, we're going to go hit all of these goals. And an investor goes, that sounds really great. We're interested in investing. Now prove it. And how you prove that is you give them access to a data room just filled with all of this information, not only to do with the commercials of your business, but also the risks involved in your business. So the legal side of things, have you properly set up your company? Have you signed contracts with everyone that's relevant? HR, operations, finance, all of those different categories. All of that you need to put into a data room to go to the investor here. Like, we are a safe bet.
Okay.
So the idea of what Tallystone does is we make creating that data room automatic and really simplified. So rather than it traditionally being a really manual process for all of that to be put together, we've automated it for you using AI and workflow tools and things like that. I guess the bit about like deal ready is understanding that these opportunities for investment planning, when you get ready to go, oh, I'm ready to go seek capital, you have a very short period of time. So if that's the point at which you go, now I'm going to work on getting everything together, getting all of my documents, all my information, it's likely that you won't actually meet those deadlines because you're not deal ready when you start the capital raising process. So the idea is we go, hey, rather than it being this massive project that you're doing right before you go to investor and say, hey, can I have some money, please? Why don't you break it down and use Tallystone on an ongoing basis to be capturing all of this relevant information? So by the time an investor goes, cool, I'm interested, show me your data room, with a click of a button, you can give them access to everything.
Okay. So you've no doubt seen a lot of startups sort of scramble to get to that deal ready situation. So what is that aha moment that Tallystone got to that like flipped the script on due diligence? So where did you realize that automation could in fact save these founders and, startups and whatnot from these big disasters that could in fact happen if they weren't using something like Tallystone?
Yeah, the piece was really in, like I said before, about thinking of it in terms of rather than this big scope of work that you do right before a capital raise, is how can we embed processes while you're running your company? So this is, for the whole year before your capital raise or between capital raises, all of this information is being created. And so rather than thinking of it at, months before you're about to start raising, going and trying to find all of this information, could we integrate automation and tech into capturing that information along the way so that you're actually always deal ready, rather than this idea of your deal readiness going up and down as you're right before a capital raise, you become really deal ready and then everything becomes a mess and then you have to get it all ready again. So the big piece for us was, okay, we don't actually, this idea of getting deal ready, preparing a data room being this massive undertaking, it really doesn't need to be if you embed automation and technology throughout the life cycle of your business.
Yeah, so I guess that just takes that massive, overwhelming feeling and that dread away from these founders who are got enough to deal with, right, when they're trying to get a company up and running. So I can definitely see the benefit in regards to that.
Sure. I do wonder, though, how is the market responding to a solution like this? I just imagine if you were a lawyer, and I imagine its legal teams that are involved in this deal readiness process, are they really incentivized to partner with you? I feel like making the process difficult generates billable hours for them. Right? Am I wrong there?
I mean, depends on the kind of lawyer, right?
Yeah. Wait, do you know a different one?
Maybe Emily was the different one.
Yeah, she left.
No.
No, this is why. No, I'm kidding. There are plenty of great lawyers out there who are not trying to think about how do I squeeze out every billable hour out of my clients. The response from lawyers has been that, one, there's only so much that they can do in terms and bill for in terms of the administration side of things. We're not trying to take the place of lawyer from giving advice or from looking at strategies when it comes to due diligence and all of the really high value piece of what a lawyer can provide. It's more that low value administration side of things of going, okay, well, these are the types of documents you need. Are you collecting them along the way? Are you recording them? Have you, signed contracts when you should have been signing them? And where are all of those documents sitting? All of that kind of stuff. Lawyers don't really want to be billing for it because their clients don't end up being happy. They go, well, I'm spending so much of my money on you. It's just on admin work.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, they actually go, no, that's actually a benefit because we can focus on the high value, interesting stuff as well. And then at the end of the day, their advice is to a company is tied to whatever information they get given. So if a company doesn't have all of this historical information of, where's the company at right now? What was the last capital raise look like? What are all the current legal documents to, figure out what's the legal risk of this company? If they don't have this information, then the lawyer's kind of hamstrung for the advice that they can give. So for them, they go, this is great. It means all the information's tidy. When I have a client come and ask me a question, I have access to all the information I need to give the best advice possible.
What do you think is the most common trend that you're seeing that blocks someone from getting the seed capital that they're after?
Oh, that's a big question. It's interesting the how much things are changing as well. I think first and foremost, I would say that, if I'm being absolutely honest, I don't think that the due diligence and the legal due diligence is the number one reason why companies are failing to get capital. I think that would be a bit egotistical of me to go, oh yeah, like my product is the thing that's going to make sure that 100% of the time you're going to get, you're going to be able to get the capital. Yeah. It really is, especially in the earliest stage, and there are VCs who can talk to this far better than I can. But a lot of the time, what they're saying is it really has to do with the team, and it's the people that are involved in that early stage, the founders and the dynamics between all of them, their ability to carry on the value of the company. That's a lot of the times that's what earlier stage investors focus on. Mm-hmm. The due diligence is more, if you look at kind of there's a great study by the Harvard Business Review, which looks at VC funds and their funnel. So if you look at, there's 101 101 startups that enter the funnel. And at the end, there is one startup that gets the investment. And there are a few different kind of cutoff points along the way. And a lot of the time, by the time you get to the due diligence stage, it's actually about 4.6 left over. And so the thing that's going to be taking you out of the funnel is more about, the pitching stage, the business, the commercials, whether or not there looks like, you have a business that's going to be successful. Those are the biggest areas where people kind of peel off from the funnel. And then between due diligence to then actually negotiating the terms, there is 4.6 and then 1.7. So it still means that there's only about 20-30% likelihood that you'll actually make it past due diligence. So it's important because 80 to 70% of companies don't make it past that stage, but it's more likely you're going to peel off because of more to do with your company than necessarily having your legals in order.
Sure. That seems fair. Is this like a systematic process, or do all venture capitalists approach this in a different way? Is it like you come in at like step 7 to 8 or something along the lines? What does that look like?
Yeah, I would say it's every VC fund has their own process of how they will run the from start to finish, whether or not they decide to make an investment. There's roughly everyone follows like a similar trend of there's some sort of pitch that happens early on. So there's maybe a presentation that you give or a pitch slide that you send to an investor. And then provided that they like what that initial presentation is, they'll then go through and, talk to you a bit more, learn a bit more about your business. And then at somewhere along the way they'll ask for more information and you're kind of providing information all the way through. Then there is the negotiation of the actual terms of investment, and there's the information at the end. One thing that I find a lot of founders will forget is that the VCs and the investors, it's not their own money. A lot of the time, they're actually holding someone else's money, and understanding that really unlocks for founders what it is that who it is that they're talking with and what are their priorities, to understand, hey, I'm not trying to convince this person to give me their money. I'm trying to convince this person to convince someone else to give me their money. And understanding that relationship then really helps with the dynamic of how do you present it, and understanding that you need to help them justify it to someone else.
Do you see anything in particular on a recurring basis that people skip or not take as seriously in that process that causes them to fail?
I think there are so many different ones, and to say that this is the one would be would be hard. But one that comes to mind is to understand like the changes in dynamic of running a business when it's just been you and your co-founders, to all of a sudden you have investors in your company, and that you are answerable to them. They own a piece of your company now. So there's, a lot of traditional businesses, the people who run it are the people who own that business. And so everyone's there's a really nice symbiosis of information. Everyone is aware of what's going on. But then when you take on investment, that dynamic actually changes. And all of a sudden you have shareholders who are, investors in your company, who own a piece of your company, and you actually have obligations to them. You need to protect this business that they've given you money to go grow. And I think the founders who can show that they take that relationship seriously, that they can go to investors and say, I understand what it is that, I'm not going to take this for granted. I understand what you're entrusting me with. And that's going to help so much to build trust with investors and kind of take them along with you for the journey.
Random question for you. Is that a Newfie keyboard?
Yes, it is a Newfie keyboard.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, he's pulled out the double guns.
Yeah, I did. I want to brag on anything.
I am really bad at buying little trinkets. Like I love tech.
I can see his computer. He's literally Googled the keyboard.
I wanted to make sure I got the right one. I wanted to make sure. Yeah. Oh, look at my stuff.
I highly recommend it. It lights up. It's very nice.
Is it good? Yeah.
It's like as good as
although
money gets.
I've been told I'm not allowed it at the office because it's a bit too noisy. So I now only have it at home.
Oh, I've got one I'm also not allowed to have at the office. It's not one of those though. But same reason, too noisy. Anyway,
they just don't know what greatness sounds like.
I know. I love the noise.
The tactile. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, mine's been banished as well. So
I've got one other question for you here. Is there anyone that you recommend? I've got two questions here actually. Is there any stage where you speak to a customer and then you're like, don't do this, like don't do seed? Like how does someone know whether they need it or don't need it? I feel like everyone I talk to is always on the fence. They're like, I want money, but do I need it? How do people evaluate that? Is that something that your system can assist with, or?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think it's one that we've asked ourselves as well. I don't think there's any it really is. There's a lot of people who see it as good versus evil of this kind of bootstrap, do it with your own money, your own sweat and tears, never take money from someone else. And there are ardent people who on the other end who go, absolutely, like, why would you ever bootstrap? Go take someone else's money and go to the moon. There's no other way you can go to the moon without all of this capital. And I think it's as with many things, there's two ends of the extreme, and I probably sit somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of one understanding, like, where are you at and where do you want to go and who do you want to bring on the journey with you?
Sure.
So no, to answer your question, Tallystone cannot help you figure this out. I think that would be amazing if we could. I'm sure that we would, sell like hotcakes if we had that as an added feature, because it's this like perennial question that everyone asks. But I think the point of, where are you at? Like, what kind of business are you? Are you a consumer business? Are you a B2B, business to business kind of play? Are you in product? Are you in software? All those kinds of questions about whether or not you have scalability. Like, can you rapidly go from where you are to this massive business?
Mm-hmm.
Then do you actually want to become that massive business? I think a lot of founders, when they think about what it looks like to go be the next Melanie Perkins, is understanding, like, do you know how much work she has to do to run Canva? Do you know how, like, what that behemoth and what that would actually mean for you, rather than thinking, oh, I want to be the next whoever it is.
Yeah.
So I think understanding like what that actually not only takes for yourself personally,
True.
But yeah, and whether that's something that you want to do. And then lastly is, do you want to have along the journey, do you want these other people to be involved? Once again, you are giving away a piece of your company to an investor. Is that something you want to do? Do you care more about, having full control of your company? Are you happy to relinquish some? Do you want to bring on board other people so it feels like you have a team? It's such a personal preference, and it's a lot of the time it's those personal decisions. So those personal factors, that impact the decision rather than necessarily any sort of hard and fast rule. It's more about like, who are you, and is this the kind of business you want to be in?
It's a good point. I forget who it was. I was watching an online interview with someone, and they were like, I want to have a massive company. I want to be the next Canva. And the lady that was interviewing the guy, she's like, okay, well, do you have children? And he's like, yeah, I got one. I got a little one. She's like, good. Would you ever have 5? And he's like, nah, it's too many. He's like, okay, well, 10's too many too. We'll kind of multiply that by 10. And that's what running a business my size is like. Yeah. Probably not going to have many family days if you're running Canva, I imagine. I can't imagine you've got much spare time to do any of these things. But let's get down to the more important questions.
Ooh.
Tell me seriously. Come on, be honest.
Uh-oh.
What's the dumbest business you've evaluated? Come on, lay it on me. There's got to be some real good ones.
We had a really good one like quite a few episodes back.
The porno?
Wasn't it? No, it was
He was a video guy. He recorded
the spray on condom.
That's the same guy. Yeah.
No, it was a different one.
Yeah, his dude did like marketing videos for someone.
Oh man, I need to watch more of these episodes. I'm clearly missing out.
We're not just the tech panel.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean we? I'm tech panel. I don't know what's happening as a side business.
No, but his was like, we had someone come that was a spray on condom. Surprisingly, it never got legs.
Just imagine what that process would be like.
Such a shame.
Could you imagine? Look, we don't need to revisit that again, because I could go on and on. See, before we went on, you were like, oh, it's pretty safe what we're talking about. And here we are.
All right, your turn. What's the dumbest business idea that you've seen so far? Come on, it's got to be a good one in here.
That's such a difficult question, because it's also been a while since I've been a lawyer. And when I was a lawyer, I like every single day I was seeing a new business come through and be like, this is what I do, and we need legals. I don't know if I have a clear winner, and it probably wouldn't have been. The clients that I work with had really interesting ideas, and some of them also, unfortunately, would be very similar to like other ideas I'd heard of before, but none of them were, I think, like, I don't think I ever came across one that was done. Mainly because probably the kinds of people who are going to a lawyer, I'm like, you're smart enough to go seek legal advice. So
that's true. I'm not sure if
that's always a good thing.
The other one,
I think,
thought that far in advance.
Yeah, you may be right.
Yeah, exactly. I think some of the interesting ones I've seen are probably more from going to networking events. And you just meet all kinds of different people who turn up at these events. And I think some of them have been the difficult part is always going, oh, I don't know if that's not straight up illegal, but I think there might be some questions as to whether you're allowed to do that or not. And yeah, it could be, for example, with the example you gave, it's like, well, these are products that the TGA, like they're medical devices, so there's certain, requirements that they would have to meet in order to be actually able to be sold. And so people would say, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And it's like, okay, do you know that, you're working in a regulated space and therefore there's all of these obligations that you have to meet before you can start selling people these products. So
Yeah.
I think, that was a pretty common one.
It is always interesting when you hear like the different ideas like that, and you sort of, you've got to maintain a balance of, professionalism, but you don't want to flat out say that's a really good idea, or even that's just a good idea. So it's sort of like that polite, like, yes, like,
Interesting. Yes.
yeah,
I haven't heard this one
interesting.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I did get a question from someone that they wanted me to ask you this. In the due diligence space, where people are trying to look for seed funding and things along this nature, do you see any preferences for male-led businesses versus female-led businesses getting seed capital approved over others? Is there any reason to believe that female business owners are being looked over in the application process or anything of that nature?
I would say the statistics would say yes. I don't have any sort of personal anecdotes
That's
as
good.
of yet. So who knows? Like we're still relatively early in our journey. You could ask me, if we ever hit a Series C, and maybe the story will be a bit different. But the statistics show that yes, there is a level of bias in terms of preference towards male-founded teams or co-founded teams. So there's males and females as opposed to like an all-female founded teams. So I think the numbers don't lie. So unfortunately, yes, that is still seemingly the reality. I think there are a lot of investors who are trying to actively work against that bias and looking to fund more female founders, fund initiatives to help female founders also get to a place where they're actually investment ready. There's a piece of what Tallystone does about investment readiness, but there's so many other factors that lead to the investment readiness of a company as well. So you talk about a startup. The way I like to talk about it is we help your company get investment ready.
Yep.
You need to focus on getting your business investment ready.
Yeah.
And so, there's all of that as well. I think that there are plenty of still stories of females, like the female founders that I've spoken with, who have had negative experiences in terms of the kinds of questions they get asked. I think to that point about the due diligence piece is the questions that females tend to get asked during the due diligence process as opposed to men tend to be, men get asked more growth related questions, whereas women get asked more risk related questions. So, what are you going to do if your biggest competitor like builds your product, as opposed to what's the market opportunity and what's your expansion plan into the US for men versus women is one of the what a lot of people are saying, like, tends to be how, especially in the due diligence piece, men and women kind of get treated differently.
And in your opinion, especially being female, why do you think that is? Why do you think there is that different in the statistics?
Yeah, I think if I was going to get really psychological about it, once again, this is entirely my feeling about it. I have no like numbers to show or research to show behind it there, so take it with a grain of salt. I think, there's the idea from a young age of boys are seen as go-getters, adventurous. It's in their nature to kind of go chase opportunity, versus girls who are told to be more safe and secure and to be careful and to, not be so adventurous and make sure that they don't get hurt and things like that. So I think there's
conservative. Yeah,
exactly. And so people have that kind of thinking of well, girls should be a bit more conservative and be careful, and boys should be a bit more adventurous and go out there. So yeah, I wonder if how much of that plays into those kinds of questions then.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I'm completely with that sort of gut feel without having the stats and the numbers and the graphs and everything else, that is probably how it would, I imagine, would play out. I've just done a quick search, and there's just in Queensland alone, there's quite, just for, female, wannabe founders or startups that are listening, there are quite a lot of incentives for female founders within Queensland alone. I'm sure there are in like a lot of different states. So yeah, I think, obviously the government is like, okay, we see this, and there are the initiatives out there now to try and balance that out a bit more.
Yeah, there are so many government-funded initiatives, and there's also, private not-for-profit organizations as well. There are programs dedicated. So, for example, I participated in the UQ Ventures Momentum Accelerator program last year, and that was a dedicated female founders cohort. And so that was an amazing opportunity for us to kind of level up in our growth journey as well. And I would like to think that even if it was a mixed gender cohort, that we would have still gotten in, but definitely, having been a female founders cohort meant that we were able to participate in that, and it was so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good. It's good to know that we're at least trying to level that playing field a little bit, just in regards to gender. It seems quite crazy that it's still a thing, but it is still a thing, and there's no point burying your head in the sand about it. So yeah, it's good that the government is seeing that, and there's initiatives, and like your founders club, was it like a female founders?
It was an accelerator program.
Yeah, so things like that, it's definitely helping. Definitely helping. So yeah.
Is there anything that you think you subconsciously search for when evaluating a company to use your software, or is it just sort of like a free-for-all for anyone? Is there any cutoff where you're like, no, we're not working with you? Like, what do you look for in partnering people?
Yeah, I guess it's not anything to do with like any gut instinct vibe. Like we do have a very niche way of looking at who's going to find value in our product. More so, it's more like we don't want to sell our product to someone who's actually not going to get value, because that's worthless to us and to them. It means that they walk away having felt like, oh, why did I ever put my money into this product? And we walk away with maybe the wrong information. Maybe we think, oh no, this person hated our product. We've built a terrible product, but it turns out they just weren't the right fit. So I think it's so important, especially in the early stage, to be very niche as to who you're selling to. So our thinking is more, of what is, once again, where are you at, and where do you want to head towards? What kind of business do you run? So we met a founder at a networking event last week, and they were a consumer-facing product, and they had no plans of ever bringing on investors. And they are in a very, very early stage of their business, so don't have any sort of, they maybe in a few years' time, they're going to be dealing with a lot of documentation that would require something like Tallystone to just like help run their business. But they really they don't need us at this stage. And we go, no, like, great talking with you. We don't think that you would get value from using Tallystone. Likewise, we had someone else who came to us saying, hey, I want to use you just as like an e-signing tool. Like, here are my needs. And we go, well, we can service that, but I think if you're just coming to us to use us for our e-signing capabilities, there are actually other providers out there who are going to be able to service you better if the only thing you need is a document to be signed. Like, our benefit is more in automation, and then taking that document that's signed and making sure it's stored in certain ways and accessible in the future, and making sure that, if this document gets signed, does it lead to another document getting signed, and all of these kind of workflows and automation. So if you're not going to be using those parts of our software, then it's probably not going to be a right fit. So yeah, we're very clear to people when we go, we're not going to add enough value to you to be worthwhile the subscription fee that we're going to charge you. So it's probably best that we don't proceed with this any further.
Yep. So we've discussed with you already that you went through university and you did your law degree and whatnot, but you also did your honours thesis in AI as well. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So drawing from that, how do you see AI will help reshape the startup governance? Where do you think it's going to make it easier for founders to manage compliance and operations effectively?
So the subject of my honours thesis was specifically to do with using AI to sentence criminals. So it was very, very niche on essentially like looking at making decisions that impact people's lives with AI.
Tell me more.
And
He's
it was
all
very
about
light
it.
material.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I wrote it in 2019, and where this is before like the ChatGPT that we know today.
Yeah.
It was, very early on in that piece. And so a lot of it still stands true in terms of the way that I wrote the thesis, which was, okay, let's think about how we make decisions and what's important to us when we make decisions, and can AI actually satisfy those requirements? Like maybe AI can make the decision in terms of you give it an input, it gives you an output, but can it do it in the way that we want it to? And the conclusion, I went into it going, I love AI. I think this is the way of the future. We are 100% going to be using AI to help with court decisions in the future. I finished the thesis going, absolutely not. AI is not ready for this. So, which I was very disappointed with, but it shows that the research process was adequate, because I concluded differently to kind of how I entered. The way that kind of ties into what I do now is understanding like where are the limitations of AI and making sure that we're using it to leverage, efficiency gains, and making sure that we're utilizing it to its fullest potential, but understanding where its limits are and how do we build systems around those limits. So for us at Tallystone, we know AI is going to be really good at, in future, providing advice. So if you say, hey, I want to go hire an employee and I want to give them shares in my company, how do I do this? And am I allowed to do this? Now, AI may be able to answer that question, but what is the information that it's sourcing to give you that advice? So there are a lot of startups who are making sure that AI is pulling from, legal case law, but what about internal documents? And how do we make sure that it's referencing the correct documents within your company? Because I'm sure for you guys it's the same. How many times do you have like 10 copies of the exact same document, and maybe some of them are slightly a bit different? No one knows which one is the most current version of something. It's that, but even worse when you look at companies and their legal documents, and it's even more detrimental because decisions are going to be made of this. You go, okay, we'll make sure that we have the most up-to-date current version of it, and making sure that the AI is working off that information, not the 9 other copies of the document that are floating around somewhere on someone's Google Drive. So our focus for Tallystone is going, let's make sure that any AI we use we're able to trust in that decision because it's pulling from the correct information, and building a system to facilitate that. Because unfortunately, AI is just, if you give it 10 copies of a document, it can kind of guess that maybe this one is the most relevant one, but there's no way it can know for sure.
Yeah. No matter-of-fact way of, deciphering that.
I felt like I was being personally targeted for a period of time there.
Ever.
Oh no, is there a story here?
Not a document controller. Don't look at me like that. If you had the opportunity to sort of just create your own legal package for anyone starting a business, what would you call that course and what would be in it?
Yeah. For legals in general.
Yeah, like if I want to start up my own company, I'm thinking about
Yeah.
seed funding and all this other stuff, and you're
Mhm.
like, I'm a lawyer, you should probably take this course, and this is what's going to be covered in it. What do you think would be in there?
I actually the law firm that I used to work at, Sprint Law, who are also a partner of Tallystone now, had a great way of looking at this as well, and they kind of would break down. It would be we actually had a package that was kind of legals 101. So you could go as a business to go to them and say, hey, uh, I just need like a health check, legal health check, essentially. And so they built a product that does that. And it was used to be a service base, but now they've kind of built it into a platform as well. And you can go through that kind of legal health check. And in terms of thinking of, okay, what are the categories for that legal health check and then building it into a course, it can be broken down into legals for, and then the subject matter would be, one company, or if you're not a company, maybe you're a sole trader or a partnership, like understanding the legal structure under which you're operating, uh, anything to do with finances, so tax, uh, pretty much I'm setting out an MBA essentially, but it's like the legals of that MBA. So I guess this already exists, but the shortened version would be understanding like legal obligations as it relates to tax, and then also people. So human resources, like absolutely get that area. It's so rife of with disputes. So knowing what are your legal obligations when it comes to employees, contractors, anyone you're engaging. Intellectual property, just like understand uh, all the different types of intellectual property rights. Like when you're creating your product, whether it's physical, digital, uh, video, whatever it is, the understanding like what are the different protection mechanisms really helps to make sure that the thing that you're actually selling, that you're securing that. And then
This is
also
like a
just
proper master course.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
I thought you were going to be like,
there's,
just this,
there's
this, and this.
there's like a type version of the legals. The one thing that I would like, if I was to give more of like the here's a bit of advice, but rather than like developing a course, I would say read everything that you're going to sign. The number of times that I had a client come in and be like, oh, I just signed this, and then it turns out they kind of
I
signed their
think
life
we're
away.
all probably, maybe not yourself, Emily, but I
I
think,
read everything.
do you?
Yeah, I have to.
What do you mean? So when you go through the T's and C's on like, when you sign up for Apple or something, you go through and you read all of that.
Apple, no,
Yeah,
because
so all of us have done it at some point where we're just like, whatever. Yeah. But if you're starting a business,
Work-related,
however, if you're starting a business, however, or work related, I feel like it's a bit mind blowing that people would sign stuff and not actually read it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, and with those terms and conditions, anything that I'm signing up for, the areas that I'm looking at for, there's massive terms and conditions, I will make sure that I'm looking at like the intellectual property and the privacy sections, because especially in this age of AI and understanding like how much data are you actually giving to all of the software that you're signing up for without thinking twice, and how much of your personal information are they allowed to retain and what are they allowed to do with it. I think, I'm the same. I used to be just, like what, it's fine. Even as a lawyer, I'd just be like, yeah, well, I want this app, so I'm just going to tick accept. But even now I'm starting to actually, I'm just going to check to make sure that, I'm not signing my life and, my family's information and all sorts of different things.
Don't leave us hanging. Who have you not signed up with as a result?
What have I not signed up with?
Probably Meta.
I am yet to I actually a few AI providers, not because I had a problem with it. My co-founder, who's my technical co-founder, has told us like, no, we're not going to sign up for this AI software because we're going to end up giving away our information. So yeah, definitely any sort of AI tools that you're using is the like number one, be careful of.
Healthy paranoia.
I feel like we need to reassess who we sign up with AI.
So you're telling me you didn't read the document?
No.
What about this casting software? Have we just signed off all of our intellectual property to these guys? Who knows?
I think so. Sorry about that.
Well, we didn't.
Yeah.
You did.
You did, but we're peachy.
Yeah. Turns out they're just going to use my face for a million other podcasts. It's fine.
It's gonna have
Your
all
likeness,
these marketing
your voice,
photos. Yeah.
all these
Mhm.
things. You're going to
Yeah.
be, advertising stockings one day and, petrol station and oil the next. We've got you covered, girl. Don't you worry.
Well, look, if I get paid royalties, then
Yeah, that's different kettle of fish, right?
Mhm.
I feel like I'm safe. This isn't gonna be a big worry of mine. I don't think the company is begging to put my face on anything.
You never know.
I think I'd like to find someone with more hair.
Less hair is in, Arvin.
For who?
Everyone.
That's what bald people say.
It is, and I'm trying to make you feel better.
Yeah.
well, maybe you'll be selling to your audience then.
That's
Exactly right. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. This has been extremely enlightening, and I've definitely learned a lot. A few big takeaways here. Why don't you tell us a bit about any piece of technology that you're currently using right now that you would recommend to anyone starting their own business? Just, is there anything that you're using that you just absolutely love that you can't live without?
Yes. And I can't live without it so much that I tried to cancel my subscription, and then a week later I was like, no, I need it back. So
Ah,
Nice.
this is how good. I use something called Reclaim. It is a
look at us.
to be
You should reclaim.
it's a task management, schedule management platform. So the idea is it turns your to-do list into it injects it into your calendar. So rather than having a static to-do list, which for me, if I have a massive list of things, but I'm not able to figure out what's the prioritization, because maybe there's prioritization in terms of how critical the task is, but also when
Yeah.
is it due? And trying to work that all out from a massive list is really difficult. So instead, you give it that information and it just finds time in your calendar, which also means that if your calendar is constantly shifting, and if someone inserts like a meeting request or something, then it will reschedule all the tasks that you may have allocated to that time. But also it can start defending your calendar. So it will go, well, if someone's going to schedule in at this time, it means that this task you're not going to get done in time based on the information you've given us. So we're going to stop anyone being able to schedule at that time. So I highly recommend it. I've been using it for years, and it also syncs calendars. So like my personal calendar versus my Tallystone calendar, which means that if you have maybe a medical appointment, it will block out the time automatically in your work calendar as well.
This is time boxing. This is a tool. I've tried like 6 other tools. I love time boxing.
He
they
does
always-
love that.
My entire calendar is full of all these things. I do it manually because all the tools I've used up until this point just randomly kept increasing their prices. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
your calendar, I feel like I'm going to have an aneurysm looking at your calendar.
try living my life.
Yeah, I had the exact same thing whenever a friend looks at my calendar. They're like, oh my God, you have so many things. I'm like, no. Like a lot of them are tasks. They're not actual events.
Like remember to eat lunch, right?
Yeah, actually, it allows you to build habits as well. So remember to eat lunch, remember to go for a walk,
Nice.
to take out the trash.
Okay. Oh, that's what I need.
I'm in the same boat. I love time, but I'm so happy you recommended this because it's just another one I get to trial. I'm really hoping this is the one that's my forever time boxing tool. I can't believe you don't know what
I
time
hope so
boxing
too.
is.
I know what it is. I just don't use it like you use it.
Like 1,000 things to do every
Yeah,
day.
I know. I also
digress.
yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. I literally, I'm still working off 3 in fact, like three different inbox. Anyway, yeah. I mean, this probably would also be very beneficial for myself.
Giving me crap
think
about
so,
my
yes.
calendar.
I know, I was just giving him crap about mine. Just spread over different calendars, so it doesn't look as intimidating.
Told you can merge them.
I don't like the
It
mess.
feels more chaotic somehow.
Yeah, fair enough. Well,
Anyway, thank you so much, Emily. We really enjoyed it. It was very valuable learning all the insides and outsides and everything that comes with Tallystone, and also your just experience within the law and your thesis on AI. Like, it's truly intriguing stuff. So thank you.
well, take a moment just to tell our listeners who you are, where they can find you, and a bit about your product one last time.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Emily Price. I'm the co-founder of Tallystone, where we provide an automatic data room that helps companies get deal ready and stay deal ready. You can find me on LinkedIn. Is the best way to contact me. And our website also is tallystone.com.
Love it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much once again.
Thanks so much, guys.
Okay. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Me again. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning into the Tech Panel. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsors, SmoothX, for powering today's episode, and join us again on the next episode of the Tech Panel, where Tech Minds Meet.